This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I am so excited because I will be talking to Nettie Baker. She is the daughter of legendary rock drummer Ginger Baker, best known for being part of the groundbreaking, pioneering blues rock power trio Cream. And she has a new book out. It's called Cream Chronicled, where she goes through the band's relationship and concert history. And this is going to be exciting. It's the 60th anniversary of Cream's first album, Fresh Cream. My favorite album will always be Disraeli Gears, too. I also like Wheels of Fire. And this is going to be a great talk. This is the fourth book Nettie's written. She also wrote Tales of a Rock Star's Daughter, More Tales of a Rock Star's Daughter, and Full Cream. It seems like she's become kind of Cream's official historian and ambassador in a lot of ways. Spring April is almost over. It's been a toe curling month of epic proportions. I've got real toe curlers coming up next week and for Sexy May. So keep your eyes peeled and go check out my 2600th interview I did the other day with Stephen Tobolowsky. That was amazing. An amazing epic talk, I have to say. Also, I've been meaning to bring this up the last few days. Rest in peace, Dave Mason, guitarist extraordinaire. I love the guitar he did on Traffic's Dear Mr. Fantasy. Such a great tune. And he's my dad's favorite guitarist. My dad's always tried to emulate him. And it's so sad that he's gone now. Rest in peace. Rock on. So yeah, here is my interview with Nettie Baker. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yes, I can't tell you what a great honor this is. I am a second generation Cream fan. My parents both grew up in the 60s when Cream was huge, and I can't tell you what a great honor this is. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome.
So let's start with this new book, Cream Chronicled. This is the fourth book you have written. What was the whole idea behind this book?
Well, my publishers asked me if I could write a book about every gig that Cream had ever done. And I wasn't expecting it to be such hard work as it was to find out, even though they only lasted 2 short years, they did a lot of shows.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm also sure too, with the passing of both your dad and Jack Bruce in the last few years, you probably wanted to set the record straight on the band's camaraderie and talk about how amazing their concerts were.
Yeah, well, definitely set the record straight about Dad and Jack and how they got on, because there's a lot of very strange stories out there that when I researched it, actually there was no fighting on stage in Cream at any time. So I don't know where that came from.
I know that's a weird rumor. You never hear anything about those guys. I mean, the Kinks, yes, but not Cream. You know, that's crazy.
It's strange. I mean, they had fallings out before Cream, but actually in Cream, I mean, I don't. Make a lot of jokes about it, and I feel like saying, do you think that these guys who were already a supergroup, they were already well known, all three of them, would have bothered to get together if they hated each other? It just wouldn't have happened.
I know, especially at that time when, there's not even any money to be made yet, you know.
Yeah.
Was it difficult or frustrating to go through, the band's, concert archive and compile everything for the book?
Well, it wasn't so much difficult as it was tricky in, some things that they said that they'd done, they hadn't done. other shows that came in that no one knew anything about anymore. It was, yeah, that was the tricky part. Is and also, some people saying they were at somewhere where they weren't. A lot of people saw them several times, so they get a lot of those things mixed up after nearly 60 years. So that was the thing, finding out what was true and what wasn't true, what did happen and what didn't happen.
I know you were young at the time, but did you ever get to like, be backstage at any of those shows?
Oh yeah, I've toured twice, three times. So yeah, I was backstage, front stage, and in the hotel with them, and that's what the book really tells you about. Because I've got 4 or 5 books out. So, but that Cream Chronicled, I've said when I was there, and obviously I've been able to put my part in of what I saw when I was there as well. So that's been quite useful.
I mean, even at that age, did everything seem okay backstage? Everything was civil and nice and everything?
Oh, it's just good fun. I think I was enjoyed myself. It's all I can remember. We had good fun.
Hmm. Did you talk to Eric Clapton for the book?
Not for the book, because the book was about everything that had happened already. So it was like research. But obviously, all his team and everybody knows that it happened, and then they've all got copies and all the rest of it. So it wasn't a book where I had to interview them, really. I was just trying
Hmm.
to find out what happened. And the problem is that I've got the 3 of their books, and they can't remember either. So it's not really much point asking them, because they've said a lot of things that I've proven weren't right. I mean, they remember a story, but they don't remember when it was. So things
Hmm.
like that. So, and a lot of people have a slightly different idea of what happened. So I was trying to find out what really happened.
Yeah, has he written to you or given you any thanks for keeping the band alive?
Well, I mean, the most of it that we had was during the reunion, when obviously they wanted me around. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'm in contact with his team, so they know what's going on.
How long did it take to write the book?
It took about a year, actually. It wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So this year is the 60th anniversary of the band's first album, Fresh Cream. Can you remember hearing that album for the first time when you were a child?
Well, I mean, he would bring albums home and things like that. So I mean, I was very much aware of the music and of the music of the bands before. So the book sort of explains, my involvement, musical involvement. So because I've got my own books out, which memoirs, Tales of a Rock Star's Daughter, More Tales of a Rock Star's Daughter,
Hmm.
and they also sort of tell you the sort of things I was into, which wasn't necessarily Cream. It was the Beatles and Freddie and the Dreamers and Dave
Wow.
Clark Five and things like that. So I was more interested in that sort of music as a child than I was in Cream music.
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to a lot of the synth pop, new wave musicians of the early '80s, and they all told me when they grew up in England in the '60s, they listened to blues rock because of Cream, the Rolling Stones, the Yardbirds, the Animals, and they thought they were going to play blues rock when they grew up. But then when David Bowie came along, that changed everything for them, and they were like, "Oh no, we got to keep doing what he's doing." But the influence that Cream has had on other musicians is so profound. I'm sure you meet musicians all the time that tell you that Cream changed their lives.
Yes, definitely. And I think, as I was writing the book, it showed you, I put in how many famous people went to the shows before they were themselves were famous when they were kids. So, there's a lot of people from a hell of a lot of different genres of music that became famous that went to Cream concerts. David Cassidy, for instance, saw them at Santa Monica.
Hmm.
Sting, someone from Judas Priest, all sorts of different people went to see Cream, and it had them influence them. So yeah, and I've mentioned as many as I can find out in the book. So it's been quite interesting.
I mean, 60 years of timeless music that so many generations just love. I mean, it's got to be so profound. What did your dad think about the Cream fan base?
think when he got older, I'm not sure that he was quite clear about who they actually were. But he was always very pleased. We came back from LA when he did the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp in 2015, and he was in the airport lounge, and some lawyer, really high up lawyer guy came up to him and chatted to him and said, "Yeah, I know who you are." So, he did still, when he was older, get people coming up to him. When we were younger in the 70s, I remember stopping at a traffic lights, and he had the window of the car open, and a motorbike rider came, just put his hand through the window with a piece of paper and a pen to sign it. He thought that was really cool.
I know I've heard so many of those awkward stories about fans coming to them, while they're in the middle of doing something crazy like that for an autograph. Just fans have no boundaries. It seems. It seems like it's gotten worse because of the internet and the paparazzis and all that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, he didn't mind that. Some of it he didn't mind. It was if we had, like, if you were at a private party and people asked him and came up to him, then he didn't like it. But,
Oh yeah.
who would?
Oh yeah. If you're trying to have dinner with the family or something, I mean, come on.
Yes.
You got to have some etiquette there.
When he was older, someone said to him, "Didn't you used to be a famous drummer?"
Oh God.
That didn't go down very well at all.
That's the worst. So many people have heard stuff like that. That is the worst. So, what's your favorite of the Cream albums?
Oh, that would be hard. Well, when I was a teenager, I was listening to, Fresh Cream and Disraeli Gears, so I suppose it would. But then again, the Goodbye album's got some good stuff on it,
Oh
including
yeah.
What I Bring Down, which I get mentioned in, so maybe I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, I love them all, but Disraeli Gears is the one I love the most. Every song is just a toe curler, and it really touched the hippie youth culture of 1967. They had the wonderful producer Felix Pappalardi, who later started a power trio with Leslie West called Mountain, and I think he really finessed the band's strengths as musicians, and I think he brought out the best of Cream.
Well, there's a lot of conflicting feelings over the years with my dad about Felix, but we knew
Hmm.
Felix very well, and we hung out with him and his wife in New York. And Felix mentions me in the article. How we made Wheels of Fire. So I think at the time my dad thought it was good. In between times in the 80s or the 70s, I found a letter that he'd written saying, because people tried to compare Mountain to Cream, and he did not like that. But
Yeah.
then later on, he mentioned Felix and Tom Dowd in particular. He was, really liked what he had to do with the stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I never understood that comparison. I mean, yeah, both are power trios, but they're two very different bands.
yeah.
You know, never understood that. What Cream song do you think best represents the band?
Well, the one that they wanted for the A side, where they got something ridiculous, I think, maybe when they had Strange Brew, but the one that the all three really liked was Tales of Brave Ulysses.
Hmm. That's a good one. I like that one. Strange Brew is a favorite of mine. I think it's a real psychedelic anthem of the times. And I actually saw the Beat Club performance of it on YouTube the other day. Your dad wore a cape during the performance.
Yeah,
Was he always wearing
yeah. Well, the cape
capes?
was
Uh-huh.
no, the cape was made by the Fool, who painted the guitars and the drum heads. So they were a Dutch art collective. They painted the Apple Building. So they also made clothes. So they made the clothes, which he says in his autobiography, Hellraiser. And then in Cream Chronicled, I say, that Eric wasn't so keen on Strange Brew. He only did that for Felix, if Felix let him play an Albert King solo on
Yeah.
something else or whatever, because Eric thought it was a bit too poppy for him. So I think they were always being pushed, uh, into, especially at the beginning, into the pop market, and then, but they actually wanted to do something else. So, and I presume, they went psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
They really embraced that for a time, but then towards the end, they sort of sobered up a little bit, fashion wise, I think.
Yeah, I just thought that was a nice little touch, the
Yeah.
cape. Did your dad have a preference of the kind of drumming that he did?
Well, he started off as a jazz drummer and he was
Right.
touring in Scandinavia in 1958 with Sister Rosetta Tharpe. So he was a jazz drummer and he taught himself to read. He could read music, so he could compose and arrange. And then as he went through jazz bands, they were they found him a bit loud and doing too many fills. So he sort of got into changing the genre and he got into more with the rhythm and blues with Graham Bond organisation and more of the drummer as a bit more of a forward instrument. So he was really jazz based, and him and Jack were both jazz. So, and then Eric was the blues, and Eric didn't want any jazz in it. As he said, as Jack said, Cream was a jazz band, but we didn't tell Eric. And at one point on near the end, Eric said, "Well, it was partly jazz, and the jazz was a bit I didn't like." So, yeah, he was a jazz drummer, and he would always say he was a jazz drummer.
I think that Toad is your dad's greatest moment as a drummer. He plays everything from African Congo rhythms to jazz to rock in just 5 minutes. It's a stunning instrumental track. The version he did with Air Force on the first album is extraordinary too. Did he ever talk much about the Air Force albums?
Oh yeah, he really liked Air Force. I mean, he wanted to do the big band, so yeah, he really liked the Air Force stuff, and I really like the Air Force stuff. I think it's really good, but some people don't like it.
Yeah,
But I think doing the big band was great. And of course, he had Graham Bond in that,
yeah.
and Harold McNair, who he'd worked with in the jazz days. A lot of different people. Of course, they had Eleanor and Jeanette Jacobs, who were in Cake, which was that American girl band. They were the singers to start with, so there was a lot going on with Air Force, and yeah, he liked it.
Yeah, that first one that he did live with Steve Winwood and Rick Gretsch after they did Blind Faith and Denny Lane and Graham Bond. Oh God, that is just magic and it's electrifying. That's one I could listen to over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great album, and he stayed friends with Steve and with Denny to the end. So Denny's recently passed away, so they were still friendly.
Oh yeah, he played drums on Wings, Picasso's Last Words.
Yeah, he played some percussion on that, and also I've got some photographs of Paul playing his dad's drums, so which is quite cool.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Cream was probably the first band to release a double album of both studio and live tracks, and then pretty soon everybody did, from Traffic to the Allman Brothers to Santana, and then that trend kind of stopped, and I don't think it ever came back, but Cream started it. Do you know how they even came up with that idea?
Well, I think the main reason was because they didn't have enough material because they were just touring non-stop from the beginning. And as Eric said, in the book, I've found him interviews with him saying it was so sad because we just didn't have time to sit in the studio and chill out and write some more stuff. So I think to fill up, and the other reason was because they were such a phenomenal live band.
Hmm.
People just it was like a religious experience for some people. So I think they also wanted to put how much they were working, how well they were working live onto an album. So I think it's those two things together which caused that to happen.
Oh, that's so awesome too, and it's also kind of a thank you to the fans who go to the concerts too.
Yes, yeah.
So the 2005 reunion concerts. I mean, what was the excitement level like at those shows?
Well, as I've gone into it in the book because I was
Hmm.
very closely involved with those. I've got a lot of behind the scenes, bits and stories. But the atmosphere was, yeah, it was just absolutely, and there was a lot of pressure on them as well for some reason. I don't know why, but the press were like, oh, will they be able to do it? And so, when they walked out, played, went into I'm So Glad after 37 years, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, really. It was just standing ovation, and, what an amazing thing. Yeah, it was really good, really good.
Yeah, I remember reading that, like, huge movie stars like Sean Penn and Tom Hanks were there.
Yes, well, if you read Cream Chronicle, there's a few more in there for you, so you can find them.
Nice.
And yes, Tom Hanks gets a mention too. Yeah, we met Tom. He's a big fan.
Yeah. Tom Hanks is a huge, British rock historian. That's why he's produced a lot of those documentaries that are on like CNN and stuff. Yeah, that is just so amazing. Yeah, I think that Led Zeppelin's 2007 reunion concert maybe even, sparked the influence of Cream's reunion concerts.
Oh yes, I mean Cream was first, and then
Hmm.
even when they went to New York, Sting was in the audience, and well, Sting was backstage. So I think he got the idea from them. Yes, definitely.
We recently lost Dave Mason. Did your dad know him?
Yeah, well, apparently they jammed together quite a lot in around like 1969. So they played together.
Yeah, my dad's a musician, and he's my dad's favorite guitarist. He's always tried to emulate him and stuff. Was your dad pretty friendly with Keith Moon or Ringo?
Well, yeah, both the books, his autobiography Hellraiser, is dedicated in part to Keith Moon and Ringo, and so if you read through those books, you'll find a whole long thing about their friendships and how much they got together, and yeah, there's a lot about them all through. So they were, yeah, all close friends.
I'm curious. Did he know Buddy Rich?
Yeah, that's all in there as well. He knew Buddy Rich. In fact, he did the memorial in the London Palladium with Kathy Rich, because Kathy Rich was a big fan of my dad. So, and
Mhm.
we're still friendly with Kathy. So, yep, knew Buddy.
Did he know what's his name? Gene Krupa?
I don't know whether he met or knew Gene Krupa, but I've got some photographs of him with, I think, Joe Morello and people like that. So maybe there might be one with Krupa as well. I mean, he did, meet and just about everyone. So I have got some photograph of him with some of those old American jazz drummers, apart from the ones that he loved: Max Roach, Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, Billy Joe Jones, and of course Phil Seaman in London. So those were the ones that he really loved.
Those were his guys. Yeah. So can you play drums too?
Ah, no, that's Kobe Baker. I'm a writer. I didn't want to be a musician. No, thanks.
you,
So my sister, the middle one, plays guitar, but she has a normal job now. But Kofi Baker is touring USA at the moment. He lives in Hobart, and
yeah.
yeah, he's been just finished a tour with Malcolm Bruce on bass, and his own cousin Robert Johnson on guitar, who did a great job. So yeah, Kofi Baker, if you look out for him, he's on tour. He does a mean toad. His dad said he was technically better than everybody else by a country mile. So you need to catch him.
Yeah, I had heard about that tour that they were doing and stuff. And this is the best time of year to do it, especially with this book out and everything, the 60th anniversary, kind of anniversary and resurgence of the band in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, there's huge reissues. There's a load of reissues. There's a new Cream shop. If you go to the Cream band page on Facebook, there's huge reissues, coloured vinyl, new T-shirt shop, a lot of Cream stuff coming out. Guitar Magazine's February edition was devoted to Cream. I did an interview in there. So over the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of it, I think. And then 69, I expect them to do Blind Faith. So I think you will be seeing a lot of Cream, yes, this year.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I'm curious, what's your favorite movie of all time?
God, no idea. And I think Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Ah, love that movie. That movie is so hilarious. That's a comedy I could watch over and over again, and
Yeah,
I know what's coming next. I know what line is coming
yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah.
It's one of the best. Yeah, I'm a huge Monty Python fan. Did you grow up watching the show?
Yeah, well, my parents loved it, and obviously they'd let me stay up and watch it. So yeah, I absolutely love it still. I mean, my daughter doesn't get it at all, but yeah, it still makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah. Were you a Benny Hill fan growing up?
Well, one of my school friends was one of Benny Hill's angels, so
Oh yeah.
we did see we did see a bit of Benny Hill.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm a huge Benny Hill fan. I got so
Yeah,
many.
well, the one with the dark curly hair, Louise English. I went to school with her, and she was one of Benny Hill's angels. So if you watch a lot of Benny Hill, you'll see her.
I'll definitely keep an eye out next time I watch it. That's that's so funny. What are your top three desert island albums? Like if you were alone on a desert island, what three albums would you like to have?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's going to be Elton John, I'm afraid. It would probably be Captain Fantastic and the Damn Brown Dirt Cowboy.
Yeah.
It would probably be. I'm trying to think what I really like to listen to, or what I've listened to in the past. I think you might have to have Eagles' greatest hits.
Oh,
I don't think what else I would have. I don't know. Oh dear, that would be hard. I
maybe,
can't even think of another one.
maybe,
I
maybe.
don't really listen to a lot of music now. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously I did when I was younger, but it was, and I'm a punk really, so I suppose I'd have to have some punk, but I can't think of a whole punk album that I'd want to listen to. Um, yeah. Oh dear, that's really floored me. I wasn't expecting to get that. I don't know. Maybe something like Gladys Knight and the Pips or something like that. I think.
Nice, nice. That's very eclectic. A very eclectic mix. When you were in the punk scene in the '70s, like who were your favorite punk bands?
Well, I mean, I've done my whole book, more Tales of a Rockstar's Daughter, is all about me being a punk. But I was a second wave punk because
Hmm.
I was the right age to be a real punk in the 70s. But it just that I was we were hanging out with the royal family at the time, so didn't quite work. But I was a punk, so I was a punk in the 80s, um, and we yeah, by that time the sort of bands we were listening to and see, we were still into like Adam Ant, the Pistols and the Clash,
Hmm.
and more things like Crass, um, who are still going, some of these bands, and we
Oh
still
yeah.
see John Lydon, who obviously is a big fan of my dad, and my dad worked on the Pill album in 1986, so we have got a bit of a crossover. And of course, Joe Strummer, I think his first album that he bought was Disraeli Gears. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I still do listen to quite a bit of punk music, but it sort of carried on from my friends. I was 25 and they were 20 when we were punk, so I was a bit older than them. So I really was a second wave punk. So I would say mid 80s was I was a punk
Hmm.
from, I'd say, about 84 to 87. When it was happening in the 70s, I wasn't a punk.
Yeah, I like Billy Idol's Generation X. They were a favorite of mine of the London punk bands of the '70s.
Oh yeah, great, great. I actually saw some of them last year or year before.
Yeah,
They were playing in Crystal Palace. Yeah, it was good.
yeah, he's touring now. As a matter of fact, he keeps on.
Yeah, we saw Billy Idol, we saw Blondie, we saw Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop's still really good. But I mean, I saw them when they did the tour in '96 as well. That was really good.
Remember Eddie and the Hot Rods?
Yeah, well, we're not. I think my partner's more into the more USA ones. He likes Misfits and people like that.
Oh yeah.
But I don't really. My musical taste's quite middle of the road, really. I'm not. We saw the Hives recently. They were really good.
Hmm. Are you into the Alice Bag Band?
I don't know that one.
Okay, they're an LA punk band, and I've interviewed Alice. She's really nice, and
Well, my friends are in a band called Rubella Ballet, and
mhm.
they're quite well known on the LA scene because they go over there and play quite a lot. They're London based, but they do a lot of films. So they've done a She's a Punk Rocker UK, and then they're doing a She's a Punk Rocker USA. So they interview all those. So they probably know them and they know them, if you know what I mean. They're called Rubella Ballet.
Huh. I haven't heard of them. I should check them out. Remember the New York Dolls?
Oh yeah, love the New York Dolls. I mean, it's well mainly for what they wear. I think they look fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and there was a great documentary about Arthur a few years ago. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, the New York Dolls for sure.
The Ramones are probably my favorite punk band of all time.
Yeah, the Ramones over here are like really, really big. So yeah.
Yeah. They were. I met Marky Ramone at a horror convention about 7 years ago, and it was great because he was also in what's that band? The Voidoids. Did you ever hear of them?
Not really. I'm not into. I mean, I say my partner would know all of these bands, but it's not really. I don't. You know, I'm forced to go and see things sometimes, but I'm. It's not really my thing. I'm much more. Oh, I like the original old sort of British punk, really. I mean, I know Mike Spencer, who was in the Cannibals.
Hmm.
I did it. He had a radio show which I did for him. He's based in London now, but he
Hmm.
used to be CBGB boy. I don't really know a lot of that music at all. It's my musical taste is much more middle of the road, as I say, more poppy, I suppose.
How about the Addicts?
Yeah, the Addicts. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I like them. I like the way they look with the white goth makeup and the black the black eyes and all of that stuff. Yeah, they're pretty good. So, are you going to write another book?
Oh, I don't know. I'm hoping to go off towards getting my pension next year, so I won't have to do it. I mean, a lot of these are financially, necessary to me at the moment. So
Yeah.
because we don't get much of the royalties, so
Hmm.
and we're keen on any re-releases and stuff like that. Helps us out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends. It's I work for a year on that book, and I don't get paid until it comes out, so
Yeah.
it's not really financially viable for me. So unless someone offered me a nice advance, I'd be happy to do one.
Yeah. Have you really surprised yourself in your writing abilities? Like, did you always know that you were a writer?
Well, I've always done writing, but obviously, I mean, I've written diaries all my life, and I wrote poetry and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But as an adult, I went to university and I got a first degree in English Lit, and then I did a master's. So that's when it set me off, because obviously then my dad asked me to write his autobiography with him, which was
Hmm.
Hellraiser. So that was the first one I did. But I'd already written my two memoirs already by then, but they didn't come out till 10 years later.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's all I've ever done really is writing. But obviously, normal jobs like as my book Tales of a Rock Star's Daughter says, then I had to end up working with horses because my dad played polo and he wanted a free groom. So by then I didn't have any qualifications. So I worked with horses for 35 years and in pubs as a barmaid. So obviously they don't earn you a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, writing can be a tedious process, but I'm sure at the end of the day it's very rewarding.
Well, it's nice that people like it. That's the good thing. And, at least I know I can do it too. And the last book, I'm trained in research, so I was with Cream Chronicled. I was able to bring in my training and use my research. So and people, I always say to people, "What is your source?" I don't think they even know what that means.
Yeah. So, what's next for you?
Well, I think next is I don't know. I think hoping that this book goes and more people can read it, and we just carry on. My sister and brother and myself, with the legacy really. So we just keeping the legacy going, and just hopefully keep it out there, and so people can enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for coming on today, Nettie. I will definitely pick up
Thank
the
you.
book. I'll pick up all the books. And I want to thank you so much for preserving Cream's legacy, because they'll always be such a fantastic band, no matter what generation it is.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you. Lovely to talk to you.
Yes, you have yourself a great night over there in the UK, and be safe out
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Nettie Baker. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God, that was a great little conversation that we had. Yeah, I'm going to go check out those books because the band has such a great history. It was nice to, chronicle and promote that book. And I love Cream so much. I mean, they're one of the greatest bands of all time. Go check out that book, Chronicled. It's available on Amazon, and rock and roll. That's all I can say. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Boom, 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 boom.